Welcome back. Stadium here was only half full for the first half. We've now got a capacity crowd here, and hopefully a few of you are watching us over there. James Gregg joins me for his roundup. A little bit more extensive this week. Neither of us got much of a word in with Carlos last week, did we really?
I know.
So hey, you'll have a few more words to say, and some of the sports that didn't get mentioned last week and organisations will get mentioned this week. Rob Staton of BBC Radio Sheffield, kind of you to join us. Mostly we've got Owls at Brighton on your agenda this evening, and Paul Mitchell, I call him the Chief Scout. He's actually the head of recruitment and development, to give him his full title, at Sheffield United, with us still as well. You know, people always say to the likes of Rob and I that it's no secret who the best players are, that everybody knows who the best players are. How is it that you make the difference then by just stealing a march there and getting somebody that maybe others haven't seen the potential of, or maybe even haven't spotted?
I think that's what it is. And it's seen that little, that potential in them. And then also, again, I'll go back to the managers as well. He's the manager who's like taking the risk on these players who are probably not as well known or whatever. Yeah. But I think it's like you just look for lads who's got similar ability, but he maybe not have had the career that someone else have had, or he's not had the games. If he's a younger guy, he's not had the chance to have the 50 games, the 100 league games. But you see the similar ability, and when you've been at it quite a while, you actually see the similarities with a kid who were at the same stage. So like someone like Sam Carruthers, let's say, at Aston Villa 18s and 23s, do we take him on loan? Like a Daniel Johnson who we had at Chesterfield, he never had a loan to us, which surprised me. Do we take him on loan? Yeah, because he's actually as good as
good player.
So-and-so and so-and-so. It's just he hasn't had the 150 league games, and he can only get that by somebody giving him a chance.
For that to happen, the manager's got to trust you.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah. And you got to trust that you're going to do the right things, but it's not in my best interest to bring players who are like not good enough. Like it was at Chesterfield. Paul Cook were excellent, really, in that respect. He'd say like, well, look, this is the type of player. But I think once you've got a model as a team and a style that you play, which we have now at Sheffield United, I think it's quite easy because you know exactly what Chris and Alan are looking for. We know exactly what they've got to be able to handle the ball. They've got to be athletic. Got to have a good game understanding, and it's quite easy, really.
Rob, the recruitment was criticised heavily under the previous manager, wasn't it? The difference between the recruitment under this manager, in your view?
It looks like a totally different approach, doesn't it? I mean, last year there was a focus on maybe getting in someone like Dean Hammond, for example, who was experienced, the manager knew. I think they were looking for players who were maybe almost too good for League One, or perceived that way. Whereas it looks now as if it's a team that is trying to get players that can grow with this club, that they can move forward, go up a division, and those players become assets in the Championship that can help this team move forward. We had a lot of calls, Alan, last year, and you'll have had the same with people talking to you, saying, why don't Sheffield United sign players that are actually doing it in this division and that can build with this team? And it seems like there's part of that approach, and they've still got a bit of experience in them. I mean, they inherited Billy Sharp, who is such a good player, but then getting people like Ibanks Landell, who is more than capable of playing at this level, and the next one, and getting him on loan, and some of the signings they've done, and also Chris Wilder's done a great job of developing the players that were already there. I mean, Kieran Freeman, the way that he has come on, Paul Coots, players like that have just gone from Skugel. They've gone from being almost outcasts to key players.
You've noticed this watching them regularly.
I have, definitely. I mean, I was going to ask you, we spoke to John Brayford, who came on this programme last year, and we were talking about Paul Coots, and he was saying, oh, you should see him, he's fantastic on the training ground, gushing over him kind of thing. What a great player he was.
Player, by the way.
Fantastic, and he is, and certainly seen that this season. Last season, I wouldn't have believed it. Can you tell that someone is a fantastic player from the training ground, as opposed to just seeing him sort of have a very mediocre game on a Saturday afternoon?
Well, there's a lot of good training ground players, who are really good on the training ground. Yeah. When it comes to the big day, for whatever reason, they can't quite pull it off. But a lot of that can be down to tactics as well. But I have to say again, and I do sound as though I'm praising the guys who I work with. They'll be surprised because they know I talk straight, and if I didn't, I probably wouldn't say no.
You probably wouldn't say it
if it was the other way. I probably wouldn't say no. But I have to say that Nilly and Chris. Nilly's a top coach. He's a top coach, and they work fantastically well together, himself and Chris. And the time and the detail that they spend with individuals who you have seen improve, is down to them. I'm on about the time that individually it's 1-to-1 on clips and everything, and where they can help them, and also give them the confidence to go out and play as well. And I think with Coates, he was an excellent footballer. There's no question about it. The guy's a good footballer. I think they've just got him in. They've made him more dynamic.
They've also found a role that suits him a lot better, where he's deeper and he's receiving the ball off the back players. That to me, and he's got more space and time to dictate it. Sheffield Wednesday at Brighton. We are going to come back to Blades because it's more of a Blades week, but that's a hell of a... Are you going?
I'm not going. No, my wife's due to give birth any day now, so...
that is as good an excuse as I've ever heard. You couldn't possibly...
to get out, going all the way to Brighton on a Friday night. No, but I'm not going, but I will be watching closely.
You might be, depending on other...
hopefully it'll wait till the due date, which is next week. But it's a key game, and I think you look at it sort of two ways, Alan. I think a lot of people would say a point would be a good result for Sheffield Wednesday, but if they have any ambitions of catching the top two, they have to win it, don't they? Because they're 9 points behind Brighton. They've got a game in hand. They need to get that down to 6. It could then potentially get to 9 if they win their game in hand. So if Wednesday have still got ambitions of top two, and we know that is what the people running the club are sort of looking at as opposed to the playoffs, then winning this game is almost a must.
And they've played, although the results might not always reflect it, my impression has been they've played far more fluently with more freedom away from home than at Hillsborough, where at times they've been poor, let's face it, recently, but got results, so credit for that.
Which is the opposite of last year. It was often at Hillsborough where even if Wednesday were poor for a half, they would turn it on in the second half. This year they've not quite had that same impact at home, but away from home, some really good performances, even when they haven't won. I mean, the Brentford away game, which they drew, they could have been 5-0 up at half-time. The Derby game was another one where they had a hatful of chances, didn't win that game. The Newcastle game, they were, possibly the best performance of the year, great win for them. They have been good away from home, and they went down to Brighton in the playoffs and got a result. I wonder if they can just do it again.
There won't be a siege like that ever again.
No,
that's the most frightening assault by a football team I have ever seen in my life for 20 minutes or 25 minutes. Lincoln City came a little bit close against... what a result, what a performance against Ipswich. What a shocker from you're former non-league manager, Lincoln City, briefly, and then we'll go to Jay.
Yeah, done excellent. I think two Cowley brothers there, they did well at Braintree, and they've gone in there, and they haven't really signed a lot of players or spent on a massive budget or anything like that. And I watched them pre-season, and I thought there's a bit of a sea change. You can feel a change in mentality. I think they've done excellent, and they're probably two lads who are destined to go ahead.
Okay, we'll come back to Rob. We'll talk to him about Sheffield Wednesday, and we're not going to let him escape the studio without mentioning the names of Hurihan and Rhodes. They will both be mentioned in the next 15 minutes or so.
Absolutely, right? Sounds good to me. Yeah, I know it's Carlos had that problem last week, didn't he? All the names getting
mentioned to him. It was only me that mentioned him. He didn't.
Sheffield United in action against mid-table Gillingham at the weekend, trying to right a few wrongs after that thumping defeat at Walsall last weekend. That was not the result that Blades fans were looking for, but hopefully bounce back this weekend at Bramall Lane. 3 consecutive home games for the Blades. And I put the Owls as a result down to the cup of tea that I made Carlos last Thursday. And of course, they play against Brighton this week. In local football, Hallam had their game called off due to frost, but they play against Hull Road Rangers up at Sandygate, 3 p.m. While Sheffield FC, they welcome Lincoln, but not that one, Lincoln United, to the Coach and Horses ground. Of course, Lincoln City with a team that beat Mick McCarthy's Ipswich in the FA Cup. Few people getting confused about that one on Twitter. The ladies of Sheffield FC, meanwhile, they get their season underway 5th of February, and they've drawn Charlton in the Women's FA Cup. So good luck to that. And they've got a gruelling pre-season schedule underway at the moment. The Rhodes boxing gym I've seen on Twitter. A few of the players moaning a little bit about how tired they are. So pull your fingers out, girls. Sheffield Sharks lost in a nail-biter to Leicester by just 4 points last week. They'll be making a surge now because they're out of both cups. I know that Mike Tuck, who's the captain, he's very keen for them to make a surge and try and get themselves in those playoffs and try and win the trophy like they did last year as well. The next in action next Friday at the English Institute of Sport against Manchester. The Sheffield Hatters, they're flying as well. A win over Northumbria last weekend sees them top of their table. Sheffield Tigers, they've lost 10 games in a row now. That run is just dismal, isn't isn't it? 6 points from safety. Play against Harrogate at the weekend. Harrogate doing well, promotion aspirations of their own. That's at Door Moor this weekend, whilst at Abbeydale, Sheffield Rugby Club, they're eyeing promotion as well. Thumping win last week, and they play against Longton on Saturday. Steelers, they play Cardiff on Sunday. They've lost 5 times to them this season in every competition, so hopefully that run doesn't continue. Hopefully they can stop the rot there. That's at the Motorpoint Arena on Sunday. And in golf, season opener in Abu Dhabi. Everyone says it's the Masters is meant to be the season opener, but now golf, of course, the season starts in January. Matt Fitzpatrick nearly had a hole-in-one earlier, but his caddy reassured. It was quite funny on Sky. I'm not sure if you saw it. It's licked out. He's sort of gone down on his haunches, and his caddy's gone, come on, it doesn't matter, there's no car on this hole to win. So he just went, good point, and just carried on, and then tapped it in for a 2 and carried on. So he shot 3 under par, and Danny Willett struggled to a round of 2 over par.
Thanks, James.
No worries.
Talking as you were just then about people getting confused on Twitter, that never happens, does it? People get confused on Twitter.
Yeah.
I was very envious of Rob Staton the other day, really, really envious. Do you know why?
Why? Go on. No, I've got no idea.
Somebody cloned him. He got his own fake account.
Oh, really?
Is that right?
Yes, yeah, it's true. Yes, yeah. Thankfully, Twitter were quick on the trigger there and managed to sort that out for us.
Oh, really?
But
That's prestige status.
I said to somebody, I wish they'd used a younger photo. If they were going to,
Have you got a blue tick now?
There is a blue tick, yes.
Oh, very nice.
A few people fell for it. A few people were sort of saying, "Is this true? Is this true?
Yeah.
Why isn't it on your timeline anymore?" But the fun of Twitter.
Yeah, right. Okay, you don't know about this, Paul. It's a completely different world for you.
Sticks for the best.
I'm not on. My phone works on Steam, so I'm not on this tweet.
You're back in the Steam radio age. That's where I started Steam radio. Enough of that. What do you make of events across the city then, from where your vantage point is at Bramall Lane?
As in how Sheffield Wednesday are doing, or
that far off land,
what we want them to do. Well, I think it'd be brilliant if both sides were in Premiership again. I think at City this big, it should have 2 sides in Premiership. I was at Leeds last Friday night. We're going well at the minute, Leeds, and they played really well as well. 25,000 there, and I'm thinking, well, we've got 2 teams in this city, and they're 25,000 watching Sheffield United
Each
against
of them.
Northampton. So I think that'd be great. I think Sheffield Wednesday, I think they seem to be gathering a little bit of momentum, a little bit pretty much like they did last year at this stage. And maybe 1 or 2 players didn't hit ground running this season and carry on the form that they did last season. But as I say, I think like Rob says, I think it's a big game tomorrow if they're going to catch the top 2.
Rob, we won't get onto crowds because that'll only lead us into trouble. The merits of the two-side support, apart from the fact it's very good in both cases. Do you agree with what Mitch is saying there, momentum?
Yeah, and it would be really good to see both teams at the end of the year competing again. I mean, it's not since they were both competing in the same league for promotion that we've had both teams really sort of feeling like it's always been they've been United in the playoffs or Wednesday. It'd be nice to have them up there, United winning automatic promotion, and I think it probably is more likely to be a playoff campaign for Wednesday than the top 2, because the top 2 have been so consistent. But if they're going to have any chance, you feel like a result this week is absolutely necessary for Wednesday. But looking at the playoffs in the Championship, there isn't a great deal to be fearful of for now. If Norwich or Aston Villa get their act together and get in there, then maybe. But if it's a Leeds and a Huddersfield and teams like that, Wednesday would certainly fancy the chances in the playoffs this year.
Okay, and of course we're in the middle of the transfer window. We're just past the middle, but it seems to go on forever. And so do certain sagas. They seem to go on forever. One in particular has been going on for over a year now.
Yeah.
Well, take that one first. Jordan Rhodes, it's resurfaced. 1 or 2 sort of reports, non-official reports really, unofficial media. Look, that's not to knock it. There are people out there who don't necessarily work in the official media who are bang on at times. And I saw one today with a big following on Twitter, this account saying that Wednesday had a bid knocked back by Middlesbrough. What's your take on it?
Well, I spoke to someone in the North East today, and there were 2 bids rejected, and one of them is from Sheffield Wednesday. But I was told it was well short of Middlesbrough's valuation. I mean, I think the bid that you were talking about, it was talked about £9 million. If this anonymous Twitter account, by the way, is so good at doing transfers, they might want to give somebody a ring. They might be able to get employed for this as opposed to just throwing this information out. But I would look at this situation as Middlesbrough have just signed Patrick Bamford for about £5 million add-ons will take it up towards 10. It would not surprise me if Sheffield Wednesday have looked at that and thought, well, that's the value of Bamford. A similar offer for Jordan Rhodes might tempt Middlesbrough. And there's nothing wrong with testing the water at this point. There's 2 weeks to go.
That's what they've done.
Now, Middlesbrough have turned this bid down. The key thing is that I suspect that Jordan Rhodes would want to come to Sheffield Wednesday. His dad works at the club. He has an affinity with Sheffield Wednesday. I think if he could pick which club he was going to go to, apart from maybe Real Madrid or Barcelona, it would be Sheffield Wednesday. Now, it's whether or not Wednesday can get a deal together that will satisfy Middlesbrough. It might have to be a loan deal. But are Middlesbrough going to be interested in that? You know, the people I've been talking to suggest that Middlesbrough don't really feel any pressure to sell him, and they want to get a fee
He's not
for
getting
him.
any game time though at Middlesbrough.
No.
You know, and for him, he's probably thinking, you know, I've had half a season now, not getting a game. So surely that's got to play a factor.
Well, there'd be an advantage to him going somewhere, I would have thought.
Well, Middlesbrough might want him
On
out on
loan.
loan playing.
Because they've got a better, if they're not going to get the money back this window, they've got a better chance of getting it back in the summer if he's scoring goals for Sheffield Wednesday or whoever. But whether or not Middlesbrough see it that way, they might just say, look, we're under no pressure here. And the other thing is Aston Villa are very determined to sign Jordan Rhodes. Steve Bruce is a big fan of his. And they might be able to get the money together that will satisfy Middlesbrough. But yet all the talk is at the moment that they're not doing that.
No.
So,
well, I think it's very revealing that Wednesday have made a bid for starters, because many people were saying, forget this. It shows a sustained interest. They've never lost interest. They're still interested. I think they'll be interested right to the last couple of days of the January window. And I do think, from little things I hear and little sources, that around £5 million would have been the size of the bid to fit in with financial fair play, and they could manage that one. But what you're suggesting, Rob, where Jordan Rhodes would like to end up himself, I think is the key to it. Players have quite powerful positions, and we move on with that to Conor Hourihane.
yes.
Similarly.
Yeah, well, this is an interesting one because there are a whole host of teams interested in Conor Hourihane. And he could easily wait till the summer and be in a fantastic position. I mean, he will be out of contract. He'll be able to go and negotiate with clubs without a transfer fee being involved. And that would be quite attractive to him. But at the same time, if teams are willing to pay the kind of money that he could get in the summer now and offer a bid that Barnes is willing to accept, then it could move very quickly. It's a tough one. I mean, when I was doing the Football Heaven show on Radio Sheffield, a lot of people were sending me messages saying that Aston Villa have come a bit closer to signing him. I've not checked in since being on air as to whether or not that's any closer. They're very aggressively trying to get stuff done. Villa Lansbury looks as if he's going to go to Villa Park. Conor Hourihane is the kind of player you can imagine Steve Bruce being interested in. And he's such a top player, really fantastic player. There's no surprise that clubs are looking at him. But then, I heard something recently that suggested that Barnsley was still very aggressively trying to keep him there. And I think Barnsley have seen with some of the negativity about Sam Winnall going to Sheffield Wednesday that the last thing they want to do is sell Conor Hourihane to the same club just down the road again. And I think that would be a worst case scenario for Barnsley. I think that almost if he is going to go anywhere but Hillsborough, really.
Politically, Wednesday are really up against it with this one, unless the player, for whatever reason, wants to come there, or unless through the back door he knows that there's more money on offer wages-wise. If he wants that, Sheffield Wednesday or theoretically any other club in that position could go in with a lower offer than rivals, knowing that the player wants it. So that it's got. Categorically, though, they're still interested, aren't they?
It's such a complex one.
That Wednesday are still interested in him.
My contacts tell me that he's going to Villa.
Right, now that's. I should have asked you earlier.
So,
Do they?
Yeah.
And your contacts are good.
I hope so. No, I think he'll go to Villa. I think he's a real good player, the kid. I thought he was a good player when he was at Plymouth. Goal scorer, creates chances. He can dictate the play of the game. He's improving all the time as well. And he'll go. He's be fair.
If you were on Twitter now, somebody would tweet you and say, on a percentage of 0 to 100, how likely is Conor Hourihane to go into Aston Villa? That's what they'd ask you. I might ignore the message.
I would probably say there's an 85% chance he'd go to Villa.
Right. But it's not done, but it's on.
No. It's like when I speak to a lot of people in the game, and the word is that he's going anywhere. He's going to Villa.
Okay, well, thanks for the input. That's great. We waited so long for that as well, Paul. You know. Well, the Sheffield United signing, that was my other random question.
No idea with that one.
We'll have to buy him a drink, won't we?
Yeah.
We'll have to buy him a drink. But no, this guy's, you know, and I can say this here because there might be one or two of your colleagues at Blades watching this. They might boardroom level and managerial level. I can swear by the fact that you just don't tell anybody anything. Apart from when you come to our manager's lunch, and that's about 10 pints, not one.
Oh yeah. That's a good day though, that.
It is. It's a very good
And
day.
everything stays in house, so we're all right with that one.
Well, we've all forgotten it next day, haven't we? That's to stay in the house. I should take a tape recorder and record it. But I mean, clearly, it's enjoyable to work. It's a joy to work there at the moment. I should.
Oh yeah. Working at a football club is an enjoyment. You know what I mean? Whenever you work at a football club and it's winning, obviously everybody's buzzing, everybody's happy. But something that always stuck with me when I first went into a full-time game, Alan Smith, you know, the physio at Sheffield Wednesday in England, he said to me, he says, let me tell you, there's no greater pleasure than waking up in the morning to go to work every day in a professional football club. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I couldn't agree with that statement more. It's a privilege to go and work in a professional game.
It's a pity that not every player agrees with that.
Well, maybe they might have had to be somewhere else to appreciate it.
Maybe that. But Jamie Vardy, we mentioned earlier in the program, he certainly appreciates what he's got now from the background that he's had. Yeah. Did you ever get close to...
I don't think all you know, players don't. I think majority of players do appreciate where they are. I really seriously think that. I think they get a lot of bad press and everything like that. Because then I think it actually snowballs. They love being in the game. They love being in the professional game. And like Chris has played professionally and he's gone on to coach and manage and everything like that, and they love it. They just love it. It is their life, and they do appreciate it and they do feel as though they're privileged. That's majority.
Yeah. Okay, Rob, you're not at Brighton, so where are you this weekend?
No, I've got the weekend off just in case.
Have you?
Right. But I'll be keeping an eye on it. I mean, I think that it's quite an interesting weekend because you've got the Wednesday Brighton game, you've got Sheffield United against Gillingham. You know, they're looking to sort of get back on track now with two important games, and it's the Gillingham game last time down at Gillingham, which really got the momentum going initially, that late penalty from Billy Sharp. So this is a crucial one. And then in the Championship, you've got Barnsley-Leeds, which is always interesting at Oakwell. Leeds haven't got a great record there. And Newcastle are playing Rotherham. And
what a great game that
you know,
is.
that's
and Richard O'Donnell coming in if he plays. Is he going to play?
Good luck to him. I don't know. I mean, Lewis Price has played pretty well, so I think they want some competition there. But it's an interesting game because there's a bit of belief this week with Rotherham having beaten Norwich that they might just, and you never quite. That's the great thing about the Championship, you just never know.
Newcastle have lost 4 home games, including obviously to Sheffield Wednesday. So there's a certain vulnerability there. Yeah. But it's a game for Rotherham. Yeah, but it's a free hit, isn't it, for
fans
Rotherham?
getting on the back a bit if you keep them at bay for an hour or so.
Yeah. There's not a great atmosphere there if it's not going Newcastle's way. There is when it is. Yeah. You know, there's a surge then. But, I mean, it's a game to go and enjoy, that one, isn't it?
Very predictable, unpredictable championship. A lot of teams are very closely matched.
Yeah. Who's going up then? Final words. 30 seconds.
Like I say, he's so unpredictable. I'd definitely put me house on Newcastle. Yeah. Definitely. And I think, like you said earlier, if Villa make a late surge, that can be done.
But Brighton, maybe, just if Wednesday can haul them back in what should be a really good game. Excellent, chaps. Thanks very much. Thank you, James.
Pleasure as always.
Let you breathe a little bit this week. Rob, thank you so much for coming in from BBC Radio Sheffield, and Paul Mitchell, fantastic guest. Really enjoyed. YouTube later if you missed. See you next week. Bye.